Alrighty. This is gonna be the first installment ever in a series that I'm gonna do regarding my thoughts on current events. Today is April 5th, 2026. It is Easter today. Christus voice Chris, Christ is risen. Let's start with that. Okay. Jesus Christ. I believe I rejected his sovereignty for a long time. I personally believe Jesus Christ is the Lord our God, Yahweh, in human flesh. Why? And that's sort of controversial in a manner of speaking. The Holy Trinity. It always baffled me, for one. How can you be God and birth yourself? God's capable of doing anything. Now, I don't like the terminology of Son and Father. I do like the Holy Spirit. However, that one does hit home for me because I believe we all have a connection with God. I believe we all have a connection with. I view God much as a creator. Now, that leads me to say, Israel currently genociding Gaza, is invading Lebanon. Why would God, our creator, want his creation to then be feuding, fighting, and doing all this junk? Logically, now I don't believe God is purely bound by logic, but logically, still, nonetheless, if I were to create something, why would I want it to destroy itself? To destroy itself. That's my argument here. It's greed. Look at it. Just greed. With that being said, I've been doing a deep dive into the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds pretty much created the state of Israel, and the Rothschilds, ever since the pre-Napoleonic wars, that's when they gained their rise. But during the Napoleonic Wars, I think that's a great example, played both sides. They had a huge bank in France. They had a huge bank in England. They had a huge bank in Austria, huge bank in Vienna, huge bank in one other place. I don't remember precisely. Italy, something like that. Then create all the railroads in Europe. Were down in Africa during the imperialism of Africa and divided Africa up into the pieces it is today. Exploited its gold, diamonds. Were on both sides of World War I, both sides of World War II in a huge way. Now, much of what the Nazis were doing was essentially against them in a huge respect. I'm not I'm anti-war in that respect. I'm anti, there's better ways to deal with things than just killing people in conflict and war. Granted, it happens. I'm not going to try to justify it. I'm not going to try to act like it isn't a reality. I'm not going to act like it isn't justified sometimes. With that being said, we're at war with Iran. The United States and Israel at war with Iran. Iran is defending itself, and they're kicking our butts. Israel, much destroyed at this point. I think it's justified, and I am not anti-patriotic. I believe in the values of America, and I believe the values of America are falling. to imperialism, to corporatism. We are the people. We aren't corporations. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole. Maybe I will, because that's what this video is pretty much for. Bill Gates, this boy Bill Gates, goes hides on an island. First and foremost, boys with Jeffrey Epstein, hitting up, I don't know, I'm not going to make the claim underage. I don't know. I haven't seen that. But he was hitting up women and getting sexually transmitted diseases and then taking vaccines and medicine to hide it from his wife. You know what I mean? First and foremost, it's dishonesty. At the very least. And I believe in honesty. I believe honesty is a good thing. I believe your actions should be right enough to where you can be honest even about your wrongs, even about your mistakes. We all make mistakes, but these aren't mistakes. These are strategic and planned things. This dude, Bill Gates, for one, there's a big controversy right now claiming that he's essentially releasing ticks out into the public, and he's also funded this vaccine that Pfizer will release for Lyme disease. Ticks release Lyme disease. But the controversy I have with this, and I have a background in nutrition, so this is interesting to me, is it makes us less able to process red meat. Now, I think red meat is a hugely nutritional, beneficial source of protein, fats, different vitamins and minerals. I am pretty anti-vegan and all that. Mainly for the fact that veganism turned into, how can we make this stuff taste good? Veganism at its core is, I'm not going to eat any animal products, only plants. So why are you throwing Caesar salad dressing on there? Yeah, now you can make Caesar salad dressing without, well, I believe there's some dairy in it. You know what I mean? So what are you going to use, a dairy substitute? Makes no sense to me. Logically makes no sense to me. I don't know, throw some olive oil and a vinaigrette. I think that would be void of animal products, you know? So why are they making all these substitutes for use mushroom patties? Impossible meat, bro? That's ridiculous. Bill Gates funded. All this lab-grown meat, Bill Gates funded. Now, he's also the largest landowner in the United States of America. Why? Because he doesn't want us to eat actual meat. And you know what he says? The agricultural industry is the biggest proponent to climate change. What? Now, they do produce a lot of greenhouse gases. I'm not going to argue that. I went to Costa Rica when I was a part of this Academy of Global Studies when I was in high school. We went down to Costa Rica to a place called Earth University. Cool place. Very cool place. You know what they did to make agriculture more sustainable? They collected all the fecal matter from their livestock. And you know what they did? They would essentially collect the methane that was produced from that, and they powered their entire university with that methane. All the lights, you know, like all that. So they talk about greenhouse gases and all this. Dog, you can't justify that when you're flying around in your private jet openly all day, every day. You know, it's just, you can't justify it. You can't have that many luxuries and then claim that people who need this stuff are the problem. This is people's livelihoods. That's the problem. Just because you were fortunate to create a tech company and it took off. And granted, I want to state that too. I have an Xbox And there's a console wars, PlayStation versus Xbox. I was loyal to Microsoft for the longest time. I use so many other products. I prefer Windows over Mac. But more and more, I don't like Microsoft because of Bill Gates. That's like the sole reason. There's probably a lot more sinister stuff with Microsoft as well. He's a part of a community, a cabal that just is immeasurably powerful. I've been pursuing medicine for the majority of my life. I would have to essentially give in and join this cabal to a degree, or at least be subsistent with it. And insurance is a whole racket. First and foremost, insurance is a racket. Is it necessary? No, it's not necessary. Does medicine need to cost that much? No. Could healthcare be just public? Yes, I think it very much could. I think not all of it should be. I think you should have a split. And there should be public healthcare and private healthcare. Public healthcare open and moderately inexpensive for the public. Maybe even just purely offered by our government. And private healthcare, let's say, for example, this is a good example. You want plastic surgery? Cosmetic plastic surgery? Cosmetic plastic surgery? You want a boob job? You're going to have to pay for that. Like, that's logical. But you have, I don't know, hypothyroidism, which is going to be a chronic illness for the rest of your life, and you're going to have to take a medication. You shouldn't have to have insurance to fund that, because you're going to be on it your entire life. It's a racket. That is a racket. Back on Bill Gates. He owns the biggest seed bank in the world for agriculture as well. What does that mean? His genetically modified seeds are going to be the only ones offered. And let's say he owned every seed in the world. You'd have to go to him to plant anything. If he doesn't like what you're planting, dog, illegal. It's illegal. Because why? Because people like him have so much money. They have more money than any government. That's like heavily where I was diving into with the Rothschilds, or at least what I was finding. You can't be that powerful. There's monopoly laws against that, and sadly, they are. And they've fixed the narrative in their favor, and there's little we can do about it without being a community, without being a whole group. Why is there so much to divide us? Think about it. Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. Right versus left, ideologically. Republican, Democrat, politically. People have all their opinions on movies. That's kind of a weird one. But the console wars. Why do we have all that? Because it divides us as a group. Because that's something stupid we can argue about. First and foremost, it's a distraction as well. But then it feeds this little loyalty and tribalism system that they've built, and we are just too fed into it that we abide by the tribalism. We overwhelm them by number. Like, here's an analogy. If we all jumped on top of his house, now granted we couldn't, his house would tumble. It would fall to the depths of earth because it's too much weight. We have that power. We are the many, they are the few. But we can't do anything when we're divided. And that's how they did it. Divide and conquer. Colonialism, imperialism. Divide and conquer. Let's fund this side, and let's make both the sides go to war. And we will be there to save them when it's all said and done, and we will profit from them. It's as simple as that. Like, it's genuinely that simple. Divide and conquer. Our food industry poisoned. Billy Gates is right at the forefront of that. And like I said, I want to go into medicine. I have a background in nutrition. That was my major in college. Look, in order to be healthy and eat healthily, you have to eat natural. Very much so, you have to eat natural. The majority of the food we have and the majority of food people eat is highly processed. And why is that? Because it's less beneficial nutritionally. You'll have to buy more to feel satiated. It doesn't satiate you for a long time, so you're going to be buying more frequently. That's what's advertised on TV. What else? List goes on. But it's full of chemicals. Try to read an ingredients list. It shouldn't be like that. Granted, and I thought it was like this for the longest time, but it's not. If you break down a lettuce leaf, there's going to be a number of different chemicals in there, or elements rather, molecules that make up the leaf. That's not what's in there. They're putting actual chemicals in your food for pesticides, preservation, whatever. I think it's more than that. I think it's more than for those reasons, but there are potentially valid reasons that you could put chemicals into food. Dyes this, dyes that. Granted, we have plenty of dyes that are used in the United States of America that cannot be used elsewhere because they are carcinogenic or lead to this illness, lead to that illness. We willingly do it, and we willingly eat it, too. Like, I want to state that, too. We willingly do it. So, you can moan all you want that, they're poisoning our food. Do something about it. Grow your own garden. That's my project right now. That's what I've been trying to do. I'm working at a gardening place right now, and because the economy sucks, too. The economy sucks. I have a degree. I had 3 minors. Minors are kind of worthless. I've been to 3 different countries globally. Thailand, Costa Rica, Senegal. I have experience, like, in so many different sectors. The economy sucks. They don't want people. AI. And AI is not smart. It's granted, I use AI frequently. It's a great tool for analysis. If you want to have it go through the internet and find a bunch of information for you, great. It is good for that. But do not base your opinions and do not ask it to actually think, because it can't do that. Maybe we'll reach the day where it can, but it can't. It'll provide you with an answer. It always will provide you with an answer unless you ask it something controversial or something that they've programmed it not to tell you. I did work with AI, training and teaching. It works in objective things. Here's another aspect. Finances. You can use it to tell you, you can ask AI based on current trends, what is a undervalued stock that is expected to rise? Or just ask for an undervalued stock at that rate. Well, I would say that's expected to rise because there is present data that can essentially, mathematical formulations that can assess that. However, it cannot actually think for itself. So if you ask it, when or how or this and that. It can't provide those answers. It will provide the answer because it needs to convince you that it is smart, but it actually isn't real. It just is like a made up. It's gonna blabbermouth you to believe it. If you can't discern the difference between blabber and not blabber, lies and not lies, you would believe it. So just take into account, this is a tricky world. Use your brain. You were gifted by God to use your brain. It's a crazy world. We are the many, they are the few. We can rise. We can build a better world where we don't discriminate, where we don't hoard and be greedy with power. Much love. God bless. May the Lord bless you. And adios.